Why the UAE?
Within 1 hour drive of where we're doing this podcast, you can meet essentially the top people in the crypto industry.
The regulators will have to get their head around in terms of how do you regulate something which is not supposed to be regulated.
I went to 20 or 21 banks in the UAE to try to convince them to open a client money account the last 5 years. Rejected by 95% of them.
If you want to understand something that you're not intelligent enough to, then test it. You burn your fingers, you learn quicker.
It's so fast, the development in this space. If you don't innovate, you're out. I've sent funds a month ago to an investment abroad, non-crypto. Somehow the bank on the receiving end changed their address and it got lost in space. Like nobody would find this transfer. Stablecoins, that doesn't happen. Is tokenizing that asset better than the real world use case today? If you say yes, and you can explain the tokenization value, then go for it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's episode of Couchonomics with Arjun. Joining me on the couch is someone from the crypto world, right? So that already tells you we're going to have an interesting conversation. His name is Rifad Mahasneh. He's the CEO of OKX MENA, which is Middle East and North Africa. With that, let me welcome Rifad to the couch.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Right?
Big fan of your podcast.
Don't say that. I haven't bought you dinner yet.
Let's see how it goes.
No, but I must shout out to Sakar actually, right? Sakar Erekat, who's actually been a guest on the show. I was talking about OKX and he's like, hey, I know the CEO of the region. And I said, could you please connect us? And I think that's kind of how we met on WhatsApp. And I appreciate you were, I think, in the midst of Token at that time.
Yes.
And now that's behind you and you're with us.
Oh,
right.
Glad to be here.
But to be honest with you, what I'd like to start with is you just telling us what is OKX all about? You know, what do you do globally? You know, what is it that you've started doing in the region?
Sure. If maybe we'll put it for an audience who maybe is not very crypto-centric. So
I like that.
Let's do that. So OKX is one of the biggest platforms out there today. It's essentially an exchange. However, on top of exchange, we have other layers. So we have the CeFi world, which is an exchange comes in with exchange-related products, staking, structured products, and what have you. And then on top of that, we also have a Web3 wallet and now introducing payments into part of our space. Essentially, we are still very CeFi driven, but as the DeFi world expands, we're expanding that space as well. OKX globally started as a global platform. However, now we're localizing as much as possible. Mm-hmm. If you've been following us in the UAE, we launched the platform in the UAE in October of last year. We've launched similar platforms in other markets, Singapore, Australia, Europe, most recently the US. As we believe the future of crypto platforms like ours to be in markets regulated in those markets. So we've invested a lot in the UAE as we see a lot of opportunity of the UAE specifically for the region and beyond. In a nutshell,
okay,
this is where we're here.
But Rifat, it begs the question, right? So I've got two questions for you. One is why the UAE, right? You know, there are bigger markets, and you might say that's largely because of regulation, but I want to hear your sort of view. Yeah. But second question, which is slightly more interesting for me, which is when you say localizing your platforms, what does that contain? Like what is localization in your context?
Let's take the one question at a time.
Right.
So why UAE? I think it was, now looking back at it, was a no-brainer. But when you're looking at a new market, you're looking at three things essentially. One, regulation or regulatory clarity. I think the UAE not only has regulation, has an abundance of regulations. Like you can have a choice when it comes to regulation in the UAE. So that was a straight-off decision that was easy. The second piece is, do you have talent to operate in that market? And the good thing about the UAE, although we're latecomers to the UAE, there's so many platforms that started in the UAE before us, so you can actually recruit talent that has crypto experience. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people sometimes underestimate the value of that. Specifically on cross functions that work with the business. I'll give you an example. Crypto compliance is different than TradFi compliance.
Agreed.
The logic is there. The same logic can be applied. However, in my opinion, crypto compliance can be more advanced than TradFi compliance because the tools that you have, the on-chain tools that you have. So having someone who've operated in a regulated platform for 2-3 years that you can recruit into your platform is an immediate plus. And that was huge. And the third piece on top of regulatory clarity and talent was an ecosystem. If you're looking at the UAE, and I'm glad you mentioned already token, that's it. You can see it, right? There was a vision a few years back. Now that vision is in reality. For me, and I'm happy to say I'm very biased, but within 1 hour drive of where we're doing this podcast, you can meet essentially the top people in the crypto industry, right? And then you have a couple of summits here and there throughout the year where a lot of these guys fly in. So you're at the epicenter of crypto today within the UAE. Yes, there's other markets out there that are offering the same, let's say, characteristics. But here, I go down from my office, the custodian is next door. The issuer is next door. The insurer is next door. The regulator is next door. All of these are within a very small geographical area. So it makes sense that you start to talk to your clients in the same place. You start talking to the regulator in the same place. So the ecosystem factor cannot also be underestimated. That was huge. So when we looked at that from the UE perspective, it had all three. And today, as I mentioned, looks like a no-brainer. It was more of an idea on paper, but now we see it actually in reality.
You do. I'm going to come back to that in a bit. You're not going to like this next question of mine,
please.
but just because I think you made a very good point that let's have this conversation in a way that a bigger audience can actually understand. Yeah. We're going to throw around words like CeFi, DeFi, on-ramp, off-ramp, on-chain. Can you just give a little bit of a glossary definition on what the different meanings are, so that as we use it through the conversation, we don't have to keep sort of going back to it?
Sure. Let's start with the easier ones. On-ramp, the ability to go from fiat to the crypto world.
Perfect.
Usually it comes in through normal banking channels. You want to have your normal AAD, USD, and you want to enter the crypto world. For most of the last, I'd say up to 2020, 2021, the crypto world there was a bit of convoluted to get into the crypto world. On-ramping was an issue. Today, that's live and you can do it for your bank account. CeFi, DeFi. Very good points. So CeFi is obviously a centralized component of this industry where it's managed by a certain team, following certain regulations, following certain rules, and it is a controlled environment or a centralized environment, so to speak. DeFi, on the other hand, is the opposite. A decentralized way, less controls, more autonomy to users rather than a centralized management committee, so to speak. But more reliance on the user from the custody perspective and managing their own assets. What else in terms of terms? Exchange versus brokerage. I think that's a big two terms.
And that will come up again and again in this discussion.
Brokerage is me coming to you, asking you to buy on my behalf from a liquidity provider somewhere else. Most of the platforms today around the region are brokers. So they're taking Arjun's money, and they're working with a big liquidity provider, usually one or two, and then they're quoting you, adding a spread and selling it back to Arjun. The exchange, on the other hand, which we operate with today, is Arjun is being matched with Rifad on the exchange. You guys are making that transaction together. So you want to buy, Rifad wants to sell, we're matching you together. For usually it's a maker or taker fee, depending on what your position is. So exchanges tend to have much more liquidity because that's where the action happens, or that's where the volumes happen, and brokers live off exchanges. Now, you've got custodians. Custodians most exchanges tend to have their own proprietary custody methods, but you also have third-party custodians who are in the business of just securing your assets. You will see more of that where traditional exchanges or brokers working with third-party custodians to give you the choice as a client to put your assets in a third-party custodian. Issuers, obviously companies or platforms or projects who are issuing tokens. I think that's straightforward. Then you've got...
I think we go on. I think that's good enough to
start.
That's good enough for you. I think that's good enough. I think it's
anything
good enough
that comes in, we'll throw in the glossary as well.
We'll do that. So let's take a step back, right? And I will zoom in a bit later into the regulation and what VARA is doing and what are you seeing at the national level and how does it align. But let's take a step back. State of crypto 2025, right? Yeah. What's moving? What's interesting? Where do you see most of the action? How is this sector getting further demystified, if I may use that term?
That's an excellent term. I'll give it to you anecdotally from my day to day, right? I've been in this space for 5 years now. If I'd look at my schedule, it would have been morning meeting with a retail client, some regulatory work, and then some work with another retail client, some educational piece to retail audience. It was heavily retail focused. What has happened over the last few years is, and take a step to my calendar today, is, yes, it has the retail client, but it has the institutional client, the tier one investment firm, that's a DIFC or ADGM firm, who's coming in and wants to inquire about how do they enter the digital asset space or the crypto space. So there's a clear shift of what used to be a very retail heavy industry. It's very unique with crypto. It's one of the few industries where it was driven purely by retail capital. But today that's shifting into now the split between the two is moving towards institutional. I think slowly. It's still retail dominated, but institutional is coming in and taking a lot of large volumes. So I can see that personally. There's a lot more adoption from the institutional side. We see it as a platform. But we also see us as part of the discourse where we weren't, right? Today, you and I you're discussing this. I've followed your podcast. You've had several crypto experts here and partners, and this wasn't the case. But you've done it from your own initiative. Today, that discourse is happening in major conferences that are not a token, right? That's a Dubai FinTech Summit that's doing something on crypto. If you were in Qatar the other day, they had some part of it on blockchain as well. These major summits, Abu Dhabi Finance Week, they're discussing crypto as part of content, as part of their major day-to-day agendas, which tells you that, one, it's slowly becoming more mainstream, and two, slowly becoming more institutional than what the industry was 5 years ago. And to wrap it all up, I think this is one of the best places to be if you're in this industry.
It's interesting, right? So you used some very interesting terms. You use digital assets, you use crypto.
Yeah.
It's not one and the same thing. I think
Maybe we should add that to the glossary as well.
Yeah. We should, right? No, but I think you'll answer that. I think, and crypto is a subset of sort of digital assets. And then obviously there's this word Bitcoin, which comes up every time, right? Everyone sort of mentions crypto. So there was a time where it was mutually inclusive, right? It kind of one was the other thing.
Bitcoin was everything.
Crypto was Bitcoin, right? And digital asset didn't even exist. I think it's a term which came around, right? So let's take a step back a little bit in terms of retail interest was driven a lot by, the interest in Bitcoin and the rise of the price. And then, Ethereum came. And let's be honest, there was a bit of herd mentality, including yours truly. I kind of told you how I bought my first Bitcoin. I didn't even know what I was buying. Someone actually told me, and thank God and bless him for that. But that's a separate point. As you see institutions come in, right? So we've seen the large institutions globally, right, either get into the game through either ETFs or saying a particular percentage of their entire holding needs to be in crypto. They started recognizing it as an asset class, right? But both globally, and then the question here is more local, is why is that shift coming? Like, are we running out of asset classes, or is this asset class so unique that people feel that it's necessary to get into it? And then if I bring it down to the regional context, I always like asking two questions so that you can speak, right?
I try to remember the second question.
Sorry. I'll repeat it if you forget, don't worry. And the second question is, as you bring it down to more regional or local players, are you actually seeing local institutions also get interested? And again, what's driving that interest?
I'll take the first one and put it into two different categories of why this increased adoption today. One is, and I get this asked a lot, I think for the last few weeks we've had some economic movements, shifts on up tariffs, etc. And the first question you get, what do you think of Bitcoin when it comes to tariffs? And my answer is always the same. Similar to when you bought Bitcoin back in the day, the fundamentals of Bitcoin never changed. Right? Still the same. The scarcity is still the same. The way it's managed, the white paper is still the same. But I think a lot of people now understand that Bitcoin could be used for something else beyond just trading, beyond just looking up for the upside. It could be a store of value. So a lot of people have more awareness today of entering this space as an alternative asset. So when you questioned about whether we're running out of assets, I don't think we're running out of assets, but a lot of people are seeing the true value of this asset. On the second side, there is more transparency in this industry, right? We're still not a level where a pension fund would go in and invest in digital assets. But we're on that trajectory where we're getting there because they're getting more comfortable with the industry as a whole because regulation is developing. And we do this a lot. So we sit with institutional clients, even ones who are not our clients, and we canvas and say, look, what it would take you as Arjun's company to enter this space? And most of them say three things, and they share the same three things. One, transparency. Two, custody. And three, compliance and regulation. So we'll say, let's try to solve them one by one. Transparency, we can be as transparent as possible, and that's on us. And we do this through our proof of reserves. We actually share information with clients. We try to be open about our operations, about our custody operations as well, as much as we can with our clients. The second piece is custody, right? As a big tier one institutional firm, or let me put it this way, you're buying equities today. Custody does not come into your questions, right? You call your broker, your broker buys in shares in Apple or what have you. You're not questioning the custody piece of that.
No, we
right?
don't. Yeah.
In digital assets, is still a question mark. So what we've done is given clients more options, right? You want the OKX custody or you want a third-party custody. So within that theme, we've worked now today with Standard Chartered Bank where clients can come in, put their assets with custody with Standard Chartered, and then trade on the platform. So that's a big piece for these large firms who would look at it. And the last piece is obviously compliance and regulation. These firms are not small crypto trading firms. These are large firms who have the internal audit, risk, compliance teams, legal teams, who need to be comfortable with your setup. So what we do today, and I'm very surprised about the welcome that we've had since we've launched our VARA entity. A lot of counterparts or clients on the other side very familiar with the VARA rulebook. They come to you and ask you, okay, you're following this, so that gives you more confidence. I want to face your VARA entity. And I know because there's that rule book, you're following these guidelines around X part of the operations. So that these three have contributed to a lot more comfort now from clients wanting to enter the space.
Okay. So I get that. Let me ask you a question around Bitcoin because Bitcoin is one of the asset class, or if it's an asset class by itself, if you want to sort of call it by that, right? They say it's proof of value, right? Call me a fool, but if I don't have utility, how is that proof of value? How is that value intrinsic, right? And people compare that to gold, for example, and so on and so forth, right? So help me sort of overcome that view in terms of saying there is proof of value. Let's buy the white paper and let's believe there are 21 million Bitcoins. Yes. I think that's the number, and there will never be, right? And I don't even know how many of those are in circulation, right? I don't actually know what percentage of them are either lost or hidden or in unknown wallets, if I may use that term. How is there proof of value associated to something which has right now no utility?
I don't think there is zero utility in Bitcoin. I think there is utility in Bitcoin. It's not as mainstream as utility of Ethereum, Solana, etc. So there are applications that are working within Bitcoin. So I think there is that utility element. But I wouldn't underestimate the scarcity element as well, because that piece, it matters a lot for people who are hedging with Bitcoin against other assets. And if you're looking at an alternative asset today against, let's say you're worrying about a devaluation of a certain currency, your options are limited. Bitcoin is adding a third or fourth option to that pool. And I think a lot of people are looking at the fundamentals of Bitcoin specifically with regards to what happened in the last 3 months, right? You've got tariffs, you've got ups and downs, and a lot of people thought in short term Bitcoin is going to be affected by that, which is true. Because Bitcoin is no longer isolated outside of normal traditional markets.
Yeah, it's kind of correlating to the equity market.
There is correlating in the short term.
Okay.
However, I do believe that in the long term, and which is what we see with the price today, the correlation starts to strip away and the true fundamentals of Bitcoin continue.
Okay.
Right? So despite markets going down, Bitcoin has been steadily on the up. Today we crossed 110, near an all-time high. People are looking at it clearly from a traditional market or from the crypto market that is still a path for investment.
Okay. All right. Let's switch topics. Let's talk a little bit about centralized finance, CeFi. You're a CeFi exchange, right? But at the same time, we continue to see sort of growth in DeFi, not maybe as rapidly, but you do. Obviously, the regulators will have to get their head around in terms of how do you regulate something which is not supposed to be regulated, right? In its truest sense. There's an interesting conversation that I hear a lot about, that we're starting to see convergence between CeFi and DeFi and even TradFi. And a lot of people say that DeFi will coexist within TradFi. It'll sort of eliminate some of the challenges that exist in DeFi. How do you see all of this convergence play out, right? And do you see DeFi achieve any mainstream adoption in, if I may call, the shorter term or the nearer term?
I would look at the long term.
Okay.
I think at the short term today, you've got TradFi, you've got CeFi. There's a lot of focus of, we're still in the phase of bridging between TradFi and CeFi, right? So we explained on-ramping.
Yeah, you did.
On-ramping is not easy, right? Even to this day, it's much better than we were before. I think at one point, to give you a bit of context, I went to 20 or 21 banks in the UAE to try to convince them to open a client money account at different parts of the last 5 years, and rejected by 95% of them. So we're still looking at ways to bridge the TradFi and CeFi. DeFi, on the other hand, I do believe they're not, like, we should not look at them as competing with each other. They do have a complementing, it's not a zero-sum game. They do complement each other. A lot of the creativity is happening on DeFi, right? But there's always going to be a layer where if we want to apply it to CeFi still hinges on TradFi. There's certain rules around when you cross with the fiat networks, when you cross with the monetary policies of certain markets, you will always have to abide by the regulations of those markets. In the short term, which is my point, in the short term, DeFi is gonna need to adapt, but on the long term, there will be a way where we take the innovation of DeFi, because it's essentially a huge testing ground of great ideas. Not all DeFi projects work, right? DeFi projects, there's a lot of them that start with a good intention, a good idea, and do not end up executing the right way. So you will see great examples from DeFi coming up, and then slowly you will see CeFi adopting these examples within the guardrails of traditional financial systems.
So this is very interesting. So the way I see this is TradFi ain't going anywhere except evolving. CeFi is part of that evolution. Obviously, the regulator has a good eye on it. It's centralized. People have accountability. DeFi really never actually takes off, but becomes a test bed. It's like a sandbox.
It will take off.
Right.
But I think it will start taking off with the idea of how can we merge within CeFi as well.
Right.
Okay. So the projects who come in with an end game that you can do mass adoption, not just on the DeFi world, I think those are the ones that are going to probably succeed going forward. Interesting
because I get thoroughly excited when people talk about DeFi, and I've looked at some of the projects and some of the lending
lending is a very good example.
Lending projects and I've even tinkered around with it, because in life I've realized if you want to understand something that you're not intelligent enough to, then test it, right?
Yeah.
You burn your fingers, you learn quicker, right? Because you can read as many white papers as you want to, and they still go over your head. I still can't get my head around how does a regulator, right? And there's a bizarreness in the world that the regulators are becoming market makers now, right? The good old days where the regulator just sort of sat back and regulated, right, is changing to actually regulators competing with each other, right? Because they want to attract talent, they want to attract dollars, they want to attract businesses, innovation. Yeah. So in effect, they're becoming market makers. And we see that in traditional finance. I'll tell you something, guys like me who come from, I guess, FinTech 1.0, right? The old guys, I was the first to turn around and say that if you really look at massive transformative FinTech plays, look at countries like India and Brazil, right? Look at things like UPI and Pix. It might be names that you might not be aware of, but this has been incredibly transformative. Guess who did that? Yeah. The regulator, right? Yeah. And it is. So I kind of struggle with that view. But that brings me to the question with Vara, right? So Vara is obviously Dubai focused predominantly, right? You are obviously regulated by Vara.
Correct.
Right? I was in a conversation the other day, I think we were speaking before we started. I was in Qatar, and there's this side conversation which went on forever, which is around MICA versus some of the other jurisdictions, and Vara's name also got sort of, spoken about it. So Vara is very pro-innovation, it's nimble, right? But it doesn't have to accommodate for 27 different countries or 37 different countries, however many in the EU is. MICA is more of a political, if I may say, compromise, which has been struck by 27 or 37 different countries, right? But Vara, don't you actually sometimes feel a little bit vulnerable with VARA saying, how does the central bank eventually regulate all of this? And will VARA ensure that compliance in terms of regulation playbook? Because if we go down too far down a roadmap, which is VARA-centric, and let's say the national regulator comes across with something which is divergent, is going to create a business model risk, a business model challenge for us?
I don't think that's the case today.
Okay.
I think there is a lot of full cohesion between the different entities that work on regulating different aspects of digital assets and digital assets interaction with TradFi. And I'll give you an example. The central bank stablecoin rules.
Yep.
Right? They do regulate within something that affects the central bank's realm, which is payments and payments within stablecoins. So they're telling you, look, if it's an AAD-backed stablecoins, it's with us. And that makes sense because essentially the ultimate regulator of payments in this market is the central bank of the UAE. So I don't think there is this idea where like VARA is innovating on its own without collaborating with the other regulators. This is, and I've seen it in practice, they do collaborate, and I think there is cohesion when it comes to an overall policy of how digital assets should be regulated in the market. Yes, you have multiple regulators, right? The deviations are not as far as people think. The core principles of fundamentals of regulating digital assets are 80% the same, right?
Okay.
Some token elements, some liquidity elements, some stablecoin elements might be different here and there. But your fundamentals that you want to know, like your AML fundamentals, your compliance fundamentals, counterterrorism fundamentals, they're all shared and they're all driven by a common understanding that's driven by the central bank of the UAE. So I think that is where the initial block was built, and then you're adding layers on it. The difference, though, where we see the benefit is for all of these regulators in the UAE versus some other markets, they didn't stop. They didn't just come in with V1 and said, all right, our job's done and we've just regulated digital assets.
So they're iterating.
They're iterating within the developments of technology in this industry, right? And you've got now, you've got VARA, you've got the IFC has its own program, you've got ADGM with a similar program, and you've got ESCO with a program as well. They're all iterating on the developments of technology. And this is something you don't see in other markets, where they said, we've done digital assets, let's look at stablecoin. Probably the next step, if I'm guessing on the right trajectory, would be tokenization, real world assets. How do we look at that market? I think VARA just announced a pilot project with DLD on this. So you can see where the pattern is going forward, and it makes complete sense.
Okay. This is, you could choose not to answer this question. It's not a question which should be asked to you, but I will take the liberty because you know more than I do. Here's an assumption, right? I think what's very interesting about crypto digital assets is that the level of, I don't have the right word, I'll use integration of the underlying technology and the use case it powers has a very high degree of interlocking, right? My assumption has been, because I do work with a lot of regulators, right? I haven't particularly worked with VARA, but I do work with a lot of regulators in my day job, right? One of the things that the regulators have struggled with is separating regulating the use case versus regulating the underlying technology.
Yes.
Right? Because your job is not to regulate the underlying technology, right? Your use cases, because the technology like blockchain is not just for financial services, right? It could be used for everything, right? But they've struggled with it because the applicability has been so heavily in financial services that they've gone down that way. Two questions to it. One, do you see that? Have you experienced that in your sort of time here in the market and globally, that you've seen other regulators sort of struggle with it, and those who have overcome, how they've done it? But I think the second more interesting question is for you guys as a business. How do you look at the underlying technology and the problems that you're solving? And are you trying to sort of enrich both sides of the equation? Because you need to be very good at the technology too to be able to sort of solve the problems that you are. Or maybe I've just got this assumption wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think, so to take your first part of your question, I think yes, not a lot. Some regulators looked at regulating blockchain, and you're 100% right. Blockchain is the technology that's driving all of this. And a lot of people had the misconception thinking crypto is all about trading, which is, if you were following crypto for the last 10 years, you'd look at it as, oh, this is a trading technology. We should regulate the trading element of it. It's so much more than trading. And maybe we should go back to the glossary at the beginning of our podcast. There is more. There's payments. There's remittances. There's cross-border settlements now.
Well, stablecoin is
Stablecoins
great
now.
example of
Great
payments,
example
right?
of regulators looking at not the technology but the use case. Now they're looking at stablecoins, saying let's regulate stablecoins because they're going to play a huge part of what's happening for it. So, yes, I think a lot of some markets said, look at this is we need to look at it from a capital markets angle, and we need to regulate it because it's going to affect people within trading and losing money and investing, which is fair. But it's so much more. And I think where other markets have shined, so to speak, and within the UAE, it's now looking at it from a DLT angle, from a stablecoin angle, from a issuance, from custody, from all of the angles, not just the trading element. Because exchange and brokers are the trading element. They're needed, very much the pipes of this industry, but that's not the element. On your other part of the question, whether we need to be up and let's say following the technology, absolutely. I think it's so fast, the development in this space. If you don't innovate, you're out. And we've seen it with so many other players, so many other projects. And frankly speaking, and I get asked this question multiple times, how do you evaluate project X or project Y? My answer is I might not be knowledgeable about project X or Y. What I'll do is look at the roadmap, look at their use case, and look at their community. Have they been keeping up the roadmap? Do they have a clearly defined use case, a real life use case? And do they have a clear community that's following them for that? Those are the more, in my opinion, projects that are successful and need to innovate and continue to innovate. The others who fail to do all three don't typically last long. Exchanges are part of this. You will continue to innovate. So that's why we're introducing payments. That's why we introduced a DeFi element. That's why we're improving on our custody. We're encouraging self-custody in the DeFi world. We're introducing multi-signature wallets. Those are things that are coming within markets because they're being asked by the market. They're being asked by users. So if you don't innovate, it's not a great way.
No, it's not a great way, and I think it's a challenge that I think, and in your sector, I guess it's even more, right? Yeah. So we have traditional finance where the word innovation is sometimes a joke, but I'm not going to get into that. So here's a question, right? So you have OKX. There's a percentage of the world that you're addressing who knows or what knows about exchanges, right? Some of them will learn more about brokers versus exchanges today, hopefully, right? You have, some of your, I don't have to take names, but, we have Binance, we have Kraken, we have yourselves. Kraken's not in the market, but or not yet at least, right? You then actually have, if I may use, non-crypto platforms,
correct,
right? Including Robinhood, which, launched crypto a long time ago and actually saw massive amounts of trades happen on it. We've got others in the region which are offering, if I may say, crypto asset classes. How do you go about educating the customer on both the sector and then differentiating your platform to saying, come and, trade or exchange on our platform, right? It's not an easy task, I would imagine, right? Because you have to educate at the same time and kind of attract them. So how do you guys go about doing it? And how do you differentiate yourselves from each other?
So we do both in parallel, but I'll take our approach for launching in the UAE. Obviously, we're going after regulation, but there are certain non-regulatory aspects that we needed to have in order to launch our business. One, having an effective and stable fiat on-ramp channel. If Arjun cannot deposit from his bank account to OKX, we're similar to all other platforms. We haven't created a differentiator. So that was one. We made sure we have that. Second piece is we're operating an exchange, not a brokerage. So it's on us now to explain that in most of our content. What's the difference between exchange, what's between different brokerage? Because there's a lot of fee difference when you go to the exchange, right? It's typically cheaper because you're going to the source. Third, we wanted to do something different than all other players in the market because we thought this is probably one of the best differentiators. We have an exchange and we have a good on-ramp. So what do? We do an AED order book, meaning you don't have to change to USDT or USDC to get to BTC. you go directly from AAD to your token of choice.
Perfect.
So today I think we're the only one running an AAD or an effective AAD order book where I'm matching with Arjun, and the other side of the pair is a crypto pair versus an AAD. Those three differentiators were key to us launching the markets, and we have them. Now, continuous efforts on our side is to explain those differentiators to users. And we get that a lot, and I appreciate that. A lot of people come in, I'll trade with platform X or platform Y. It's our job to explain to them what's the difference between the two. So far, I'm very happy to say it's been very successful in the approach. A lot of good feedback from our users, a lot of great adoption, and we want to continue to build on that. Because, again, as I've touched on earlier in our interview, we're building for local in most of these markets. And these three features that I mentioned were identified as how can we stand out within local. You can come in and just get a license. Great. How do you stand out? Adopting local features that users want.
Okay. And if I sort of overlay, let's be honest, crypto has never been too far away from words like hacks, scams, trust concerns, right? Does this keep coming up again and again, both? And I'm assuming you're also servicing institutional customers, right? So does this conversation keep coming up again and again? How are you kind of reassuring these people by saying, because let's be honest, some of the biggest exchanges have been affected, right? The bad actors are pretty smart in this sector, right? So how do you go about managing that sort of, and it's a sector level challenge, not just yours.
Exactly. And bad actors are not only smart, they're getting smarter, right? So it's up to us to also keep up with innovating on our security, our custody efforts, to ensure that we're on top of line. Now, the good thing of these events, let's start with the FTX events onwards, is they create an example of what not to do. So they create a learning path for others of how not to do the same pitfalls that others fell into and caused all of these events. So while it's unfortunate a lot of these events still happen, but the learnings from them are being taken by both regulators and operators to say, look, that was a vulnerability area we saw in that. You should prepare now to prepare yourself. So we have to assure clients. We have to be transparent with clients about how we do certain things, but we also have to acknowledge that we're learning from these vulnerabilities that come up with other players and advancing our features as well in response.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, isn't it time that we're all mature enough as a sector, and maybe globally, not just in the region, where we collectively come and start establishing some standards and frameworks at a more, if I may say, in a more institutionalized manner that everybody needs to comply with, and so on and so forth? Because we'll keep learning from the mistakes, but there's a high price being paid by people, right?
The standards are surprisingly there.
Okay.
Right. So our custody operation in the UAE is different than our custody operation in, let's say, Singapore, because the rules of VARA are different to the rules of, let's say, MAS. Not that any is better, but they've looked at custody operations and said these are the guidelines you need to operate with. Australia is different, Europe, MICA is different, US is different. So the rules are there, and the rules will continue to develop as regulators pick up on a lot of these vulnerabilities. The part of what we could do is also innovate within this space. I'm very big proponent of our custody operations. However, if my client says I want to custody my assets with Standard Chartered Bank, and that gives them comfort, I would need to provide that level of comfort and feature to get them into the industry first. So it's both. It's on us to innovate, and it's on regulators as well to keep up the guardrails within this industry.
Okay, fair enough, right? So that's a learning for me. If I've had the good fortune of some of your peers on the show, right? And one interesting trend which sort of came up is saying that, most of us large exchanges have a view, and I'm going to use I don't have a better word, so I'll just use it, apologies, is we're trying to become ecosystems, right? We're going beyond just exchanges or trading. We want to involve staking, lending, sort of other products, right? I'm sure OKX is doing the same globally, right? If I just narrow it down to the local market, how much of that is based on whether the regulator allows you to do it versus there is a market for it versus your appetite to, do it because it's, the business case sort of stacks up or not? Is that sort of a very similar approach, or I think we're too early in the day here to even talk about it?
For us, it's clear cut. If it's allowed by the regulation in that market, then we'll offer it. If it's not, we don't offer it. So it's not we choose to be creative about it or package it in a different way. We try to do things, or not try. We actually focus on doing things within the regulation sphere, because you can't afford not to. And the markets that I'm talking about when I'm talking about regulators here, talking UAE, we're talking MICA, we're talking Singapore, we're talking Australia. Our product will be different for me within each of those markets because the regulations demand it. Okay. So we're not trying to navigate one large global product and put different bits and pieces. Now, the core part of it, which is the trading, the exchange, I think you can even get an element of staking in there. These will be probably uniform across. Then it comes to each market's appetite with its own regulation to say, do I want to offer structured products? Is that available in the UAE? Can I do that? Some people look at structured product as an advice being given by a third party. Does the regulation allow an advice being offered by a third party? So we look at it market by market and we adapt market by market.
Okay, interesting. And I guess that's kind of how you need to sort of play it out and so on and so forth. You mentioned stablecoin. Do you mind if I actually talk a little bit about stablecoins?
No.
Right. So my question here is, I guess two questions is one is, why all of a sudden the euphoria, right? Because it basically came out of nowhere, and then just, we can't get through a day without not talking about it. I've had the opportunity to speak to people from Circle and USDC. I still haven't got hold of anyone from Tether, but let's see if soon enough, right? So where's the euphoria coming from, and how is stablecoin or the emergence of stablecoin starting to sort of impact or influence your world in trading, if at all?
For trading, it's been the use case for a while. So I think let me take it a step back to early trading. Early trading, you had Bitcoin, and when you bought, you had Ethereum coming up in a few years. You needed to face it with a pair on the other side that's closely denominated to fiat currency, that is essentially stable. Yep. You wanted to know that you have your value in a stable, more or less coin, and that's how they came about. But they were very trading, or they came about for trading purposes.
Yeah.
I think the awakening that's happening now, and because of a lot of advancement, obviously on chains, on networks, on regulation, is like we can do so much more with stable coins than we thought of. It's coming in from the projects, and it's coming in from the operators in the market. I'll give you an anecdotal example. I'm sure a lot of people have faced this. I've sent funds a month ago to an investment abroad, non-crypto, right? Somehow the bank on the receiving end changed their address, so it's no longer within the address of the bank that I've sent from, and it got lost in, I don't know what space to call it. It just got lost in space. Like nobody would find this transfer for a good chunk of money. Stablecoins, that doesn't happen. You can easily trace where it went. It will land within seconds. It did not cost me around $60, $75 to do. And it didn't cost me 3 weeks, 4 weeks to figure out where the funds are. And once you pick up that's only on the transfers. And you start thinking, okay, we're in MENA. This is a heavily outward remittance region. How can stable coins start playing a big role? Cross-border payments, exports, imports. There's markets where you go to your local bank and you want USD to import. They simply say, we don't have it. Or we don't have and your local currency might be a bit tough to get a good rate against where you're importing from. So,
do you see a business case, or do you see a logic with stablecoins coming into domestic payments?
I would see a big case of them being a part of the infrastructure without you as a user knowing about it. So I think there is a future where your actual payments from me to you is happening in the back end with stablecoin, and we wouldn't even know about it. We both receive fiat in the end, but the background technology it is. If I give you an example of certain markets today in MENA, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but they were used to the traditional card providers, MasterCard, Visa.
T+1, T+2.
T+1, T+2, 3.5%. Now they're looking at this industry and said, look, I can do essentially
Instant.
T.
Yeah.
There's no plus after T. I can do quarter of the rates. It's a no-brainer.
Yep.
So do I see it becoming, and today, look at the stablecoin market. We started with, let's say, two major players. We're today at a market cap of 250 or like 240, 250 billion. We've got a stablecoin project coming up. I think the last year we've got like 4 or 5 major ones coming up. And that market cap is, for me, once people start figuring out the other opportunities, it's just going to continue to grow.
So here's the interesting question for me, right? 3-4 years ago, we were all going crazy on CBDCs, right? Last year, when I was at .0 Forum in Geneva, someone put up a very impressive sort of chart and said 96% of the global GDP, countries representing 96% of the global GDP, are looking at both retail and or wholesale CBDCs. Now, personally, and call me a fool, I can't see a use case for retail CBDCs, or at least I don't get excited. Maybe in some countries where there is, some specific requirements, government payouts, so specific, very use case specific, yes, we can do retail CBDCs, but generally retail CBDCs, unless you're a paranoid nation who wants to kind of watch everything, every penny, I don't. Wholesale CBDCs, I think, still sort of makes sense, right? Your opinion, and I've taken this opinion from a number of people, so very keen to hear your view. Maybe it'll be consistent. Is, do you see stablecoins and CBDCs coexist? Do you see very different use cases, or actually do you see that over a period of time, some of these CBDC projects will just kind of die a death, and you'll start seeing sovereign stablecoins like we've seen in the UAE? What I know I'm asking you to look at the crystal ball. It's not an OKX
I'll explain it from the logic that I look at it. So, to differentiate between both, CBDCs are essentially government control. They're following a monetary policy of the country. They're following a fiscal policy. They will serve a purpose. So I do not see a world where they don't coexist with stablecoins. They will coexist. Is it as mass adoption as we thought? This is where I'd probably challenge the CBDCs out of their own markets. In their own markets, there will be use cases. You can power a payment network. You can make it faster for settlement between corporations. There's no more. Today, I think let's take the local transfer in the UAE. If you transfer dirhams, there's a limit. Above that, it goes to T+1. I think with CBDCs, you can do that instantly and much more faster. Stablecoins do provide more of a uniform aspect where you can connect with so many other players without needing to, like, CBDCs still need to talk to each other in a different market. Or have a common language in between, which
interoperability is a bigger challenge.
It's a bigger challenge, CBDCs, because you need to be comfortable with the CBDC on the other side. How do you receive it? How do you settle it? What happens when you have a surplus of it? Stablecoins don't have that issue. But we have to remember, stablecoins are privately operated. I think the pressure on stablecoins today is stablecoins are going to have to probably share some part of the yield back to users, because how do they compete within each other? Why do you pick one over the second, over the third? Today, it's about liquidity. Which one is more liquid? Which one you can get access to? In the next phase, if in order they want to be attractive, they need to be attractive to their users. So if I want to compete for Arjun's BTC versus my stable, I need to give you something back in return. This is the interesting piece of how are they going to compete over the next few years. But regardless, I still see a growth within that overall market cap towards, let's say,
so this is the perverse joke, right? So another topic we talk a lot about, every newspaper, every magazine writes about de-dollarization, right? If anything, this growth in stablecoin is confirming dollarization, right? Because even the countries which are considering, if I may call, sovereign stablecoins are either pegged to the dollar or closely sort of, so I think this conversation of de-dollarization should be then parked for good if you're actually going to see, stablecoins take off, and especially in terms of cross-border, right?
To be frank with you, there's still, like, if you're a stablecoin project and you want to earn a yield on your assets, the most attractive are still treasury bills, short-term notes, dollar denominated. So you can have other currency stablecoins, but you need to have that same level of attractiveness that, again, to my earlier point, there are private projects. They are for-profit projects. So they would need to make sure that there's enough yield coming out of that sitting capital. If they find it in other currencies, I think they will go into looking at other currencies. As of today, we're still looking at USD denominated stables.
Rifad, I can keep you here for 2 hours.
I'm happy to stay for 2
no, because I thoroughly enjoy the topic, and I become a small kid, a young kid actually when I'm talking about digital assets, because I get kind of excited about it. I'm going to take you a little bit further away from exchanges. We're going to talk a little bit about tokenization, right? And actually, tokenization of financial securities is very interesting and arguably quite relevant to you guys also. And I think Kraken did something quite fascinating to me in terms of tokenizing your US stock equities. They want to introduce that. I think that has an opportunity to sort of, hyperscale the equity participation. But that's not where I want to go. I want to talk about tokenization of real world assets, because as far as financial securities is concerned, I think the case exists. The banks know what to do. They'll be slow. Technology will come, but it'll happen, right? And people like you will accelerate.
Second most topic about after
stablecoin, right? And soon to be number one, hopefully, right? Real world asset tokenization, right? Are people getting a little ahead of themselves? And I'll tell you why I say that. Yeah. There is still regulatory ambiguity.
Yeah.
Okay. There is still, in my view, ambiguity in terms of legal and judicial clarity, right, around ownership of I talk about property. They get, so you have the deed. You don't now. I know the UAE government is doing the right thing by going into the core, which is
correct,
right. But are we getting a little bit ahead of ourselves? Because there are some ludicrous numbers out there: $16 trillion worth of tokenized real world assets. That's 10% of the the global economy. Where do you sit on this as a commentator in the market?
Mixed. So I do think there's a lot of hype.
Mm-hmm.
There's good hype, but there is also, and I keep repeating that to anyone who asks me about a tokenization project. What is it tokenizing? Is tokenizing that asset better than the real world use case today? If you say yes, and you can explain the tokenization value, then go for it. That makes complete sense. But you've got examples of someone wants to tokenize concert tickets. Is there a flaw today in concert tickets? Does your project solve that? And we were having this big issue about concert tickets. If so, go for it.
I went last night to the Guns N' Roses concert.
No issues.
I have no issues with my PDF on my phone.
I think there was maybe Coldplay was a big drawer of concert tickets, but I don't think anyone came out and saying, I need to tokenize concert tickets for us to solve this. Property could be one.
Yeah, I grew real estate.
I grew up in a market where you have a title deed to something and people still don't believe you that the title deed is legit, right? If blockchain comes in and solves this, that it moved from Arjun to myself, and that's clear, by all means, that makes complete sense. But you want to be able to take the title deed to the land department and they would recognize it. Yeah. If they don't, then what are you tokenizing? So you're absolutely right. There is the vision, there is the positive hype. There still needs to be linkage with real world use case.
Yeah.
That you can, I tokenize that mug and you can go and sell it and it will be recognized in the banking system. And if you can't take a loan on a tokenized real estate property, then why are we doing this?
Exactly, right? Acceptance, there's got to be a secondary market, right? And all of that.
The second is a very good point. There's got to be a secondary market, because if you tokenize something and then you have to go back to sell it old-fashioned in a normal way, then what are we tokenizing for, right? I think property will be probably the first to go into some sort of secondary market that could be on chain. That makes sense because there's so much value there. But if you go to smaller assets, like very smaller assets, it's going to be very tough to find makers in that market that can operate a secondary market. So the idea is there, the vision is there, the positive hype is there. There is still some groundwork to be done on how do we link it with day-to-day regulation and day-to-day use cases.
No, it's very interesting. And you're quite consistent in your view. I had the CEO or the former CEO of SBI Digital Assets Holding, right? Yeah. And from Japan, and Fernando. And we got into this conversation and he was very similar in your view, saying, hey, there's a clear opportunity out there. And even in financial securities in terms of moving financial securities cross-border, where there was something called Project Guardian. I don't know if you ever came across it, and if you did, right? He says it wasn't easy. He says, trust me, we are not right there, even on the financial security side, leave alone all the hype that is happening on, every day in the newspaper. We say, we went and tokenized our real estate. I'm like, okay, so
think about it. Let's take the real estate example. I'm sure they have a solution with this. What happens to inheritance? What happens if a bank wants to seize that tokenized asset? Exactly. Can they come in and seize that tokenized asset if you have a mortgage against it? There's still so many
What if
questions.
it's fractionalized in
What is
multiple owners,
fractionalized,
right?
right?
And that it,
I think there's a lot of things to be done in the background. I'm sure people that are smarter than me have figured it out and are trying to figure it out. But until those are public and you can tell every facet of that tokenized asset, how does it operate? I think we still have some time.
yeah, no, and that's good. I'm going to come back to OKX. So what's your plan for the next couple of years then?
We're so happy with what we've done in the UAE. I think now is looking how to grow this market. We are definitely after our retail clients, still the bread and butter. We do have a very exciting segment in the UAE, which is the qualified investor. So it's not a retail investor, non-institutional, but a high net worth individual, where we're going to activate more of similar to traditional banking services for people who want to invest in digital assets. And we believe the UAE is a one of the key few markets in the world who can offer you this today. And third, we're very bullish on the institutional side. So we're just going to continue growing that. Let's say we'll take our share of institutional versus retail and want to grow it in the UAE. And funny enough, I think you asked me this question at the beginning. Do you see local institutions signing up? Because I didn't answer it. Absolutely. And we're seeing local businesses that have nothing to do with digital assets trying to get some exposure to digital assets on their balance sheet.
Okay.
Right? So this is happening today, and I think that opportunity is immense. After that, I think we look at the wider region. There's so much exciting developments happening.
Let's talk a little bit, just for a couple of minutes. So which of the markets are you starting to see sort of promising signs, right? To say that, there's that within the next 5 years, you could possibly replicate what you've done here in the UAE?
The major markets that anyone would look into, I would not even classify as OKX, are obviously in the region, major economic powerhouses. So Saudi, Egypt, Iraq, Morocco, and they're all trying to figure out their ways around regulating this space. So I think maybe Morocco's a bit ahead in terms of developing some form of regulation, but I do believe once regulation is clear in those markets, those are going to be like big opportunities for everyone, not just OKX. But I think the excitement is just now, how do they operate? Or how do they publish the regulations? What comes about of them? I think it'll all be interesting for everyone.
And you guys are working closely with regulators in every market. Are the regulators open to actually this sort of consultation, or do you think vast majority of regulators want to kind of figure it out themselves?
I think we're in the business of we're open to anyone who asks us a question.
Right.
Regulators definitely want to be in the service. We're not in the business of telling regulators you need to do this way.
Fair
right?
enough.
Because we understand each market has its own nuances. Some markets is looking at it from an AML angle. Some markets are looking from a trade surplus angle. Some markets are looking at it differently. So as a knowledge base, we're happy to share the knowledge of whatever we've seen in other markets, but we're not going around and saying you need to do it this way or you need to do it that way. Each market needs its own process, and we definitely respect that.
Rifad, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming in. And apologies if this went into all sorts of directions, but I guess that's the prerogative I own, right?
That's the plan. Loved it. Thank you for having me.
I bring you to the couch. I can ask the questions. No, I appreciate you taking our time.
Glad to
be
here.
Have a great week, and I'm sure we'll definitely meet up again, and I'll come up with some more stupid questions. If not, I have you on
no
WhatsApp
such thing
too.
as stupid questions. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
Fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you actually enjoyed today's conversation. I think we ventured into the wider topic of the world of crypto. The episode will come live, I guess, in the next 4 to 5 weeks. But till then, I'll wait till next week and see you again. Bye-bye.